All right, we're gonna get going here. We're gonna leave milepost 32. I don't know if you can see the mosquitoes have come out. I don't know if there's the wind died down for a second there. They were like swarming me as I was getting the helmet on and getting ready to record here. So what's happening here is you can see we're kind of in a very sort of swampy area here, particularly on the south side of the grade. We are approaching Keemle Station, and there's going to be hopefully a few things to look at Keemle. So what I'm going to do, barring anything, we see there's another telegraph pole. Let's see if we see any green. No, I just see clear. I don't think I could get there anyway because it's all wet. So barring anything exciting to see, we'll zip you ahead a little bit here. Just enjoy the enjoy Northern Ontario here. Enjoy the swamp. So this is an area here where you can actually see some material has been removed. There were numerous spots along this railway line in this sort of corridor here, right from this area here all the way to the other side of Jellicoe, where they often would dig ballast, and they would dig it alongside the grade. Here you can see there's a beaver thing, and it's kind of messy here. It's encroaching on the railway grade. Now, trying to see if the grade widens out. I think so. So I think this might be the start of the siding here at Keemle. We'll be able to see a little bit further up there because this is all underwater here. So Keemle was one of the original stations on the line, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get more into it. Yeah, you can see this is messy here. Maybe it's because the water is high this year, but this is not good. This is all beaver here. You can see the grade is just saturated with water. It's almost acting like a dam. Hopefully this section doesn't blow out here. There's supposed to be a culvert up here, but I bet you the beaver has plugged it. So if something's not done about this section's gonna let go here. Probably a lot of stress on the grade here. So there's the culvert. There's no marker here, but this is kind of where it's supposed to be. And you can see it's just completely underwater here. So here you can actually see so this is the siding here, because you can actually see the way the grass is growing. You can actually see probably indentations from the ties. Okay, so Noah has stopped up there. I told him to stop where presumably the section house is located. Yeah, this is the siding here, because you can see the ties are still there. Okay. There's a tie right there. There's a tie. Oh, it's all wet in here. Man, this is crappy. Yeah, you can see all these ties. Some of them have been pulled out. I'm always on the lookout for stuff. Okay, so maybe while we're making our way to Noah here, we'll talk a little bit about Keemle. So Keemle was one of the original stations on the line, and we'll talk a little, now that we're pedaling here, we'll talk a little bit about its name. So Keemle, as far as I believe, as far as I know, I think, because I always like delving into the backstory, right? That's the historian in me. I like to know kind of what the deal was. So the name Keemle, I believe, actually refers to a person. There's a old tie plate. Now there were two individuals, and I don't know which one that it was named after, kind of father-son. So there was a one of the men that worked on this railway line that did sort of was the civil engineer in charge of one of the section was a guy by the name of Isbister. And Isbister had a relationship with a guy by the name of Keemle. And again, I don't know which Keemle, because there's a father and there's a son. And the father was well known, but the son as well. And so basically, this station became known as Keemle. And there's also a lake further to the west, south of Orient Bay. So I'm trying to think the milepost. So in around milepost 98 on the Kinghorn. So you basically had a lake named after Keemle as well. And the son Keemle, his big claim to fame is that he proposed the idea of damming some of the rivers that flow to the north of Lake Nipigon, that flow into Hudson's Bay, and basically reversing the course of the rivers and getting them to flow backwards into Lake Nipigon. So we're talking about things like the Kenogami and the Ogoki. And by doing that, essentially what they're trying to do is trying to increase the flow into Lake Nipigon, use that water to produce hydroelectricity, but also boost the water level in the Great Lakes to aid in shipping. Okay, so here somewhere there was supposed to be a section house, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about more about kind of what is going on here at Keemle. I need to get my sheet notes here. So after I'm done talking, I'll flash a couple of things up on the screen for you to take a look at, some timetables and stuff. So again, this was the original station. There was no station here, actual station building. It was just a siding, and there was a section house here. There was a water tank. And I'll talk about the water tank in a second. If we actually find the water tank, I'll talk about that. And so what ended up happening was the siding that was here was taken out of use sometime in the late 60s, so but somewhere around 1969, and then it was converted into a spur. About 1,000-foot spur, and it was known as KI. The name of it was KI-19. Now, you'll probably understand why that spur was taken out, or sorry, that siding was taken out, because it's very wet, it's very swampy in here, and probably there were issues with, you know, the siding supporting the weight of the, you know, any locomotive or any trains that were using it. And the station here kind of disappears from timetable, but then in 1986, it reappears, right? All of a sudden the station sort of comes back to life. It's rejuvenated. There's no siding. There's no siding here, but just sort of the name Keemle is brought back to life. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to take a look around, and we're going to see if we can locate anything, and then we'll continue our westward journey. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to explore this area here around where there was a section house and a water tank here at Keemle. The first thing I'm going to do is going to flash a couple things up and flash a map and flash some timetables up so you can see some things. All right, I haven't quite pinpointed where the section house may have been. It was somewhere in this area here. You can kind of see this open area here. Now, there's a bunch of stuff that's kind of going on here. So first thing that we're going to take a look at is the thing that I know that's definitive, is we have the water tank. And I was kind of looking for it, and usually in most places they kind of stick up, and what happened was I walked through here and I stepped, and it was kind of like I'm on something. And I started sort of scraping away, and this is the main pad for the water tank. And here you can actually see I can't go down there, but it sinks down. This is kind of the area where the pipes would have come up. And then over here, so this would have been the pad directly adjacent to the grade. You can see this concrete pad here, and you can see the little pin, the little dowel where it would have attached to the leg. So here's one. And then over here this is the one we can see the best. So this is the sort of northeast pad, and then again here you can see the pin there where the leg would have attached. And then over here, this one over here, this one closest to the grade on this side, on the west side, and it's kind of buried in there, it's hard to see. And so here you have the northwest one, and there you can see the pin for it. So this is the water tank. Now, interesting story about the water tank here. So the water tank was originally installed and basically from in this area, and you saw the timetables I flashed up. So there was a water tank at Long Lac, there was one at Langmuir, there was one here at Keemle, and there was one at Jellicoe. So typically in the original days, because of the locomotives that were being used by Canadian Northern, so 260s, 460s, they could not travel very far before they needed water. So typically water tanks were every like 15 to 20 miles. And so, for example, Langmuir is milepost 15 point something. And here we're at, I'll put the mileage up there. Langmuir was 115 point something, 116 point something. Here we're 132, 133. So it's probably about 15, 16 miles in between water tanks. So what ended up happening was, as time went on and more modern locomotives were introduced, they eliminated water tanks. And so what happened is in 1930, they eliminated the water tank at Langmuir. That one was taken up. And this one disappeared in 1931, and they kept it. So they had a water tank at Long Lac, they had one at here and one at Jellicoe. And then I guess they realized that this one was maybe a little too far from Long Lac. So they pulled this one out and they built a new water tank at milepost 28, which is kind of to the southeast of here. Again, we're at milepost. So the original milepost were at 133.2 on the Kinghorn. This would have been 32.5. They built a new water tank at 28, and that replaced this one and the one at Langmuir. So a couple other things that we can see around here. You can see that there's a telegraph pole. Pretty much everything's gone. I just see some Dominion 42s here. Over here, and that's why I'm not sure kind of where the section house is. Is it over here? All right, in this open area here, because over here, right here, there's a piece of, I saw these two pieces of culvert. This is basically like a well. I don't know how far down that goes. That's about as deep as it goes. So some sort of little crude kind of, surface well there. So there's that there. And then over here, got my archaeologist hat on, even though I'm not wearing a hat. So there's the siding over there. And so over here, starting to lighten up here. Over here, there's some stuff. And so you can see there's a whole bunch of timbers. Those look like bridge timbers. Something's been dug out of here. So there's something going on here. And then here, these timbers, but it kind of looks like there's kind of like this leveled off area here. You can see that there's a timber here, and kind of there's almost like this spot right here, and underneath it's all kind of gravel. So again, I'm not quite sure what was happening here. Beyond the water tank, there's no sort of real sort of tangible remains here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to hop back up on the grade, and we're just going to continue our journey to the west.